There we go. All right. So here we are. Welcome to Young Entrepreneur Syndicate. It is October 14th, Monday. I'm going to start off with, I just came from a men's retreat, 4 days, Thursday through Sunday. And I was in the capacity of serving. And, I don't care what your religious preference is, whether you have it or not, but I think taking the time to serve others in any capacity, in any environment, whether that's, helping with the marathon or helping with your local charity or food bank or church or whatever that looks like, taking the time to serve others brings so much value, not only to those that you serve, but to your own understanding of gratitude and ability, and that ability that will show up during the serving process is a lot of times it's patience and it's compassion and it's giving and caring and all these kind of beyond the soft skills that we talk about in business that aren't often mentioned as important components of your life. And I certainly had my full share of all those things in the last 4 days. And what was particularly special for me is the environment that I was in allowed the participants that we were serving to be very honest and open about, who they are, what they're going through, what their struggles are. And, to be perfectly honest with you, in the environment of coaching, to have I don't want to say a clean slate, but an honest slate of what people are dealing with really gives a great starting point to helping them. And I would encourage you, and this call might not be the appropriate place for that, but if there is a starting point that's deeper than what you've shared with us on these calls or in emails, and you want to talk about that so that we can give real help from that real starting point, don't hesitate to reach out. I think we tend to gloss over the ugliness of what those starting points look like in business. And sometimes, you get the coaching, from, I don't know, third base when really the coaching should be first base, but first and second are embarrassing to talk about, So I don't know if that's certainly clear or not, but the point is that when you can be honest about where you're at in business and life and get coaching from that position, it'll go a lot further. And I love being in environments where people can be brutally honest about where they're at and how they can help. So I just wanted to get that out there first and foremost before we got started. Again, if you have the opportunity to serve others in any capacity, please seek out and do that. We're coming into the holiday season and you will find that rewarding. And honestly, I tried to do it sooner than later because you probably get something out of it and want to do it some more. And holidays is always a big time where people serve. So, okay. Tonight's topic is know when to quit. And I thought I would start this out with something that I didn't quit because I want to be crystal clear on my point of view about quitting and what that means to me. And then you'll understand when I say know when to quit, how important that would be in terms of some projects that I've done. And then I would love for you to compare that to projects that maybe you're working on or things that you're considering, or put this in your back pocket for a rainy day when you might need it. Okay. So, all right, here's my brief story of not quitting. And I've told this story before. Alex, I don't know if you were on the call at that time, or Heidi and anybody else listening, but I'm just going to tell it again because these videos live in posterity, and it's a good one. Wayne's here, so he knows this story. Anyways, I was racing the vintage Baja 1000 in a vintage race car, 57 Chevy, which was certainly not equipped for the harsh miles I decided to put on that vehicle, as well as Wayne and other fellow colleagues. And it was a 4-day race. I had a guest with the team, and that was the editor of Hot Rod Magazine. And if you're old enough to remember that magazine when it was around, It was, for guys, that was the creme de la creme of car magazines. And the editor was with me on the race team. She was implanted. Her name was Alana Scher. She was implanted in the team on a last minute to understand the dynamics of the race. And she was going to be traveling with us for a few days. Now, on day 2, I had the opportunity to offer a ride in the race car for a small section. I think it was 140 miles of desert. And within that section, we wound up blowing a motor, which she quickly identified with her expertise in car knowledge, which was quite impressive. And we wound up getting hauled out of the desert. I'm going to make a quick left turn and add something funny to the story, especially since Wayne's here. Ilana wound up writing a 7-page article in Hot Rod Magazine about this, which was great coverage. She also wrote an equally long article in another magazine. It's called Top Gear. No, it's not Top Gear. I don't know. It's buried on my desk over there. It's no longer in print, but I thought I'd just give you a little funny. She started that article out because it's kind of an edgy magazine. She started that article out with, and then Wayne peed on my computer. And then Wayne peed on my computer is how she started the article in this printed magazine. The funny story was, sorry, Wayne, it's in public anyhow, so I'm not saying anything, I don't know, a million readers didn't see already. Wayne had inadvertently woken up in the middle of the night in a strange hotel room that we were sharing with the rest of the team. He thought he was in the bathroom. He wasn't. He was in the corner of the room, wound up peeing on Ilana's bag, which contained her computer. And she got a good laugh out of it. Thank God. We all got a good laugh out of it. And Wayne made it to print as peeing on Ilana's computer. Anyways, joke aside, that's real, by the way. We dragged the race car out of the desert. The chase team was waiting for us. We put it on a trailer, drove it to the town of Laredo. And we went looking for a motor because this race, every day you can either DNF and then continue on if you still have the capacity to race. We wound up taking a DNF and swapping the motor out by buying a Chevy Silverado 1987 for $1,200, pulling the motor out, putting it in our race car, and then finishing the race on the final day and crossing the finish line. That was an example, excuse me, of not quitting. And that was evaluating our situation, our resources, the team dynamics, our willingness to move forward. And, you can talk to Wayne at another date, another time, but he will attest to our fortitude to push through, rent a garage, find the parts we needed, get that car going again. I tell this story because I don't want you to think that I'm quick to quit anything. But there is a time when it's important to quit. And again, that is the topic of tonight's conversation. I'm going to follow that up, the last story, with another story. Because I think stories are important to understand, why we do things and what's important to that decision. Now, I'd started my tequila company back in 2007. That was birthed from, a year of writing a business plan, raising capital. We've talked a lot about my success in doing that and having some investors within the project. As I focused on my values throughout my career and my businesses, I also shared that with my wife and what was important to me. And she was a big part of my life for the bulk of the time that I'd owned Azuñia Tequila. Towards the tail end, I was getting frustrated with my investors. And if you know anything about investors, once they have money in a deal, they want to start controlling things or asking or changing the dynamics. And the investors that we had were in a position to leverage their financial investment to really kind of make us do some turns that was frustrating me. And my wife said, Jim, the investors are turning your company into something that no longer contains the values that were important to you or why you started this company. And if you've listened long enough in these calls, you know that values are one of the most important aspects of my business making decisions. It's also one of the important components of soft skills. So when the wife says the investors are pulling you away from your values, you really take a second hard look at, okay, what's going on here? And she said, I don't care what you need to do. I'm willing to live in a cardboard box, but I think you need to step away from the company. Now, remember, a minute ago, I said I birthed this company. I created it out of thin air. I was all in on this thing. And what my wife is asking me to do is quit. Okay? Is quit. And I wrote down, the two columns, why I should quit, why I should stay. And believe it or not, all the reasons why I should quit far outweighed the reasons why I would stay. And the reasons why I would stay, almost none of them contain my values. And the reasons why I quit were all why I should quit, all aligned with my values. So after much conversation and consideration, I wound up negotiating a deal with my investors and leaving that company. Now, if you find yourself in that position, I'd love to help you through the process so that you can take your next step and hopefully not go broke in the process, or maybe you can take a little something with you. I was fortunate enough to have a great exit plan, a great contract with our investment team, as well as a personal contract with the company that I created, and I could walk you through that. But I think the important message here is, regardless of how much skin you have in the game, how much passion you have for something when you started it, sometimes it gets to a point where you would need to understand, I might just have to quit this and move on to the next thing. I'm going to give you three other reasons why you might quit something, and then I'm going to go into some skill sets to help you through the process to maybe get to a point where you don't have to quit. And if you go through that process and you still realize you got to quit, I'm saying sometimes we have to do that. The second story I'm going to give you is something that actually happened today with one of my contracts. Basically, they have a contract with my import company to lease some space in my warehouse in California, as well as use our import license. We don't provide any consulting for this because it's a flat fee for the license, for storage, for accounting, tax tracking with the TTB for California and the federal government. And I'm going to I'll be a little bit transparent on our fees. It's $500 a month. Okay. It's not a huge investment to have all these resources at your fingertips. And actually, we created this opportunity to help people incubate their brands and get started. The call that I got today was from one of the brands. He's been there 23 months. And he says, Jim, we just moved our product out of your warehouse to a distributor, so I don't have anything there anymore. Do I still have to pay the $500 a month? I said, well, look, the space itself is almost worthless. It's 16 square feet for basically it holds 4 pallets worth of product. Where the value is at is in the importation, the customs agent, the licensing, the FDA insurance, the lease of the building that's attached to the license, because you got to have a building, all these other things. He says, gosh, that's a lot of stuff, but $500 is a lot of money per month. And I said, what's your operating budget per month? Well, I don't have one. Well, you've been doing this for 23 months. What do you mean you don't have one? He goes, well, this was kind of a hobby. Wasn't really sure, that I was going to be a full-time business because I have a full-time job. I said, well, let me tell you something. And this is where the rubber hits the road. I said, you have two choices here. One is realize that you're playing with the big dogs now in the big world of imported spirits, working against companies that spend millions of dollars. You need to create an operating budget and what you're willing to spend as a hobby company so that you can continue on forward and not be disappointed in some of the expected costs associated with business. Or two, quit now, because you cannot continue on with the mentality that you have today. I said, I don't want to be frank with you. I don't mean to be mean to you, but I'm going to be honest with you. And I want everybody to hear this, because sometimes we have to be honest with ourselves in our business. I said, if you can't afford $500 a month for the resources to do the foundational elements of this business, you have no business being in business, and you should quit. Or figure out what kind of capital you're willing to invest and know that $500 per month is a minimal expense. Now, going back to my tequila company, we raised $5 million to kick that company off, and our initial expenses per month were probably somewhere in the 33, I almost guess it's 33 grand a month. You know, you plan these things out. If you don't, you're going to be exactly where this client was at today, hearing from me going, you should quit or build a budget and find some money. Okay. So there's a second scenario of when somebody should quit and or build a better plan. The third reason to quit, and I want you to put a little bit more stock in this than what might meet the eye, and that is a gut feeling. Literally, your gut feeling about your business or what you're doing. And the only thing I can really attribute that to, and I'm sure the ladies on this call, Heidi Live tonight, might attest to this. You know, you walk into a room or you walk into a grocery store or a fast food restaurant, and you just have this gut feeling that something's not right. Maybe something bad is going to happen. Maybe there's a bad person around, and you get this gut feeling and you decide to turn around and go the other way, or you decide not to do something, or not to walk down that aisle, or not to go into that concert venue, or whatever that looks like. You have a gut feeling. Well, we get those same gut feelings about business and about life. And it's important to pay attention to our intuition and what that gut feeling might be telling us. So I've added that to a list of potential reasons to quit. Now, once you get that gut feeling, you can weigh out the options. You can create that list that I made for Azunia, why I should quit, why shouldn't I quit? And you might validate that gut feeling. You know, a lot of times that gut feeling comes in the form of a partnership that isn't a good partnership. You know, maybe the partner is becoming a lot of work and things that you feel like, maybe I don't have the right partner, you know? So you should consider your gut feeling on occasion when it's important to make a difference. Okay. So think about that. The last thing is looking at your business. And I've got another business right now that I'm looking at making some dramatic changes in 2025. And those changes I'm going to make mandatory for my decision either to quit or to stay in the business. And those changes are going to come in the form of my partnerships and the contribution that they make to this. This is a business I have in California. The contribution they make to this and what that looks like for the longevity of the company. And if it doesn't work, then I'm going to look at myself and go, okay, this is one of those things that I need to look at to quit. Because, you know, these business ventures take away important brain power, important resources, whether that's financial or time or family or all the other things, or maybe even future goals that you're not getting to. There's a lot of reasons why it's important to cut the ties and be willing to quit. Okay. So there's my 4 examples of why you might quit, how I've quit, or what might trigger a quit down the road. And I hope you can use those in your own lives to kind of evaluate, am I where I'm supposed to be? Okay. The next couple items I'm going to give you, I got this email today. I'm part of Alex Hermosi's group, acquisition.com, which he's always sends out some great stuff. And I thought that this was relative to the quitting process. And the topic of his conversation, he titles it the 5 horsemen of stagnation. And a lot of times stagnation will trigger a quit. So I thought, well, let me give you 5 ways to get out of stagnation and or make that decision to quit. And he's listing them out here. And I like this. So his first one was, and I'm going to use some of his language so I don't hack up what he said. The first one was serve too many avatars. Narrow to the one that you make the most money, likely upmarket. Raise prices to match. You might lose some sales volume in the short term, but you'll make it up in profit, which will allow you to scale long term. Now, there's a couple ways to look at this. You might have several businesses, okay? You might, in many cases, work for a company as an employee, and then have some side businesses, right? So you've got a couple different things going on here. What you want to do is narrow down your focus. Where do you make the most money? Where is your focus going to make that money? And if you need to drop some things, quit some things, in other words, what will be the result of that and where you make your money? Okay. A few weeks ago, I talked about 13 revenue sources that I have. And Rod was right. He pointed out I had another business called 1776, but that falls under the Warpath Alliance. So that's actually one business with several ways to make money. And that's actually brings out about another point. There might be some components of your current business that you say, hey, I need to drop this. I'm going to cover that in a minute under the overextended portion. But look at the ways that you make money, narrow that down, and then look at what your capacity is for doing that. And maybe you need to raise prices to match the market or go above the market. And yes, you might lose some customers, but in the long term, you'll equal out and come out ahead. Okay. So look at how many avatars, in Hormozi's words, that you're serving. Second thing that he points out is underpriced. Okay. So if you have a business that's underpriced, again, we're trying to get out of stagnation so you can decide if you quit or not quit. If you're underpriced, raise your prices on new people. That way, as new people come in, you've got a higher price. Okay. And then on your old folks, give them a little discount for a period of time, and then they'll get the new price. And that shows some loyalty to them. So, how might that look in your businesses, right? So let's just say your average, Wayne's on here, he cleans pools. Let's say the average pool is $100. And you're a little bit stagnant, and it's like, gosh, I'm not making enough money with this inflation. So maybe he wants to raise prices to $125. The suggestion here is raise those prices for all the new customers to $125 per pool. And your existing customers, you might want to say, hey, look, in 6 months, I'm raising prices for all my existing customers. But because you're loyal and you're a current customer, I'm going to give you a break for 6 months at $25 off a month, right? So when you fast forward on that, by the time you raise prices, you're going to be catching them up for a few months. But the long term is they're going to be paying more, and you've maintained them as a customer due to their loyalty and your willingness to give them the loyalty, right? So thank them, raise your prices for the new folks if you find that you're underpriced. Okay, the third topic he brings up is overcompensation, and this works similarly to the underpriced products. So hire new people with the change in compensation first, so you have leverage. So if Wayne's, pool cleaners that he hires are making $25 an hour, but he realizes that's way above market, hire anybody else new under that. So just call it $20. And then you can talk to the existing employees and see how you can work together to either get more out of them and or explain that their compensation package may change down the road. Okay. That might create a lot of heartburn for them, but sometimes we need to make harsh decisions in business so that the business can stay afloat. Okay. So if you find yourself in a backwards compensation arena, this is a way that you might be able to leverage that and work through it. Or I always like to go to existing employees and ask them to offer solutions on how you can make more money so that you can continue paying them the compensation you have been, right? So the next one is overextended. Number 4, again, on stagnation, you could be overextended. In other words, you grew too fast, either without a good enough team or good enough tools in play, or you've committed to too many, I'm looking at Alex, too many races for the year. And you're like, geez, I'm overextended. What do I do, right? So either work overtime to make up for that, or to find a winner, or cut your losses. Okay. I see a lot of this in the alcohol industry. And this can be related to other industries where you offer what I call SKUs. All right. So tequila, for example, traditionally it has 3 SKUs: a Blanco, which is the clear one, a Reposado is the gold one, and then an Añejo, which is the aged one, usually the dark whiskey colored one, right? So people that start a tequila company, they try to come to market with all 3, And typically that means they've got inventory on all three, they've got forecasts for all three, and they've made an outlay of cash for all three, when the reality is they could launch their brand with just a Blanco, the clear one, and build up their brand recognition before they launch the second and third SKU. I've got a client, I think he's got 8 SKUs out, and he's buried in debt and trying to make bills every month. Well, if you look at the warehouse that he's got thousands of dollars of products sitting on the warehouse floor that he could be putting to work to build up sales on one SKU, right? So if you get too overextended, that really could create not only stagnation, but it could create a reason to quit because you can't get out of that hole. So be really careful about too many SKUs in your product offerings that have an outlay of cash and or an outlay of your time and attention. If you're offering a service and you can't give it the time and attention it needs, now all of a sudden you're going to go stagnant because you're not facilitating all the proper channels to keep them going, right? And then finally, within overextension, be careful of your commitments. Don't overcommit because then you're going to miss targets there too, which is overextension, okay? And finally, this one hit home for me today because I was already walking through this exercise is his topic was more than one business. You shouldn't have pursued that opportunity. It's costing you your main thing. I heard this quote over the weekend at the men's ministry retreat is prune the tree so you can grow again. Focus. Yes, that means a short-term loss of that time, attention, and money. But sometimes by pruning that tree, you get to flourish as you grow again and put your resources back to work in a focused manner. Okay. So what I was looking at this morning, before I even dug into this email and everything else, was pruning some of the trees that I have in my businesses so that I could focus on the important ones. And how I'm doing that, by the way, is I'm looking at my values, what's most important to me, and going, okay, of all my revenue models, what fits my values the most, and where can I prune that tree and narrow down that focus so that I can be better at what I'm doing and more efficient, right? And by the way, the reason why I'm doing this today, as I've already said, we see the results of the things we're doing today in 90 days, which puts me into 2025. And I want to aggressively go after my priorities in January because come April, May, I'm looking at taking a significant amount of time away from my businesses to be with my family. So I'm telling you that because I want you to be thinking long-term about values, what you're doing, and the results of what you're doing today that affect next year and maybe halfway through next year, right? So, okay, that pretty much wraps up not only quitting, okay, the importance of that, as well as some tools if you're stagnant and how you can either get out of that or realize, hey, you know what? These things are all a problem. I'm going to quit this business. So with that, Rod, I'd love to have you weigh in. Alex, I see you posted up that article. I didn't know it made it to Motor Trend. That's cool because it was in Hot Rod and one other magazine. It wasn't Motor Trend though. Anyways, Rod, give us your comments, buddy.
Well, I'm glad you pulled all this together because when you had this topic, know when to quit, I would have approached it probably much the same way. And I'll tell a quick story here. I didn't have someone coaching and mentoring me throughout my careers. So I was winging it when I had to make these decisions to quit, right? But yeah, I relied on my wife for the biggest one when I was in network marketing and I'd really hit a nice peak and I had a goal, straight out because in the company I was in, we could be vested. And so I knew if I worked really hard for 2 years and kept all these, clients going, that I had a payout at the end, no matter what happened. And so when I got to that point and my business was growing faster than I ever would have expected, which was a blessing, but I didn't know how to manage it. I didn't know how to handle the growth. I didn't know how to handle it personally. I didn't know how to say no to people. I didn't know how to set boundaries. And it would have cost me my marriage and my family. And I watched other people who didn't quit like I did, and it did cost them their marriages. But my wife told me, she said, you can't keep doing this. You can't keep doing it. So I was just in the throes. I was riding on the adrenaline and the momentum and the cash flow. And it felt good. Uh, it was good to be needed and wanted and be on the speaking tour and flying all over the place, on private planes. I mean, it was fun and exciting, but I didn't know how to stop. I didn't know how to stop. And it I liken it to maybe other addictions where, you just have to cold turkey. You can't, I couldn't find a balance in it. I did try to find a balance where I could do both, but I was all in. And I made the hard decision to just quit. And keep in mind, this was in 1990, so it was six-figure income, and I just stopped. The good news, because I waited till I knew, I worked ahead of time planning that out, so I was vested, and so my income didn't go down; it stayed the same for another 7 years. So even though I quit, I didn't sacrifice all the other stuff other than the personal stuff. And it saved my marriage, it saved my family, and it gave me opportunities to focus on other things. And that's actually, I ended up getting into teaching at that point, which is, you know, uh, helped Jim and I when we were setting up lesson plans when we were teaching in high school, last year or so, or the year before. So, I mean, it's one thing leads to another, but you can't be afraid to quit. Some people are afraid to start, but you can't be afraid to quit when it becomes necessary. And, did I pass up on opportunity? Yes, I know I did. Did I leave money on the table? I could have grown my business probably 4 times bigger than what it was. Um, did that matter? No, because I still have my family, I still have my marriage, and I still made a good living, and other opportunities arose. Good things happened, even though I didn't attain what I could have with that opportunity. So, and again in 2018, I quit my job. I didn't have a retirement plan. I didn't that I could fall back on. I didn't have Social Security. I didn't have any of that stuff, and it was I was mentally and emotionally done, and I just knew I had to quit. Something had to give, and the world opened up. It just, I quit one thing, and everything else opened up. And so I guess don't be afraid to quit. If those things, all the things that you mentioned, Jim, the misalignment of values, and when you're not committed to the plan, gut feelings, pros and cons, you know, don't be afraid to pull the trigger. Sometimes it's hard to pull the trigger to get going, and it's even harder to pull it to stop, but it can be worth it. So I guess that's just my personal story. Quitting can be a good thing, as long as you're not giving up on yourself and giving up on other opportunity. So I don't know. That's kind of a roundabout way of saying sometimes it's good to quit.
Yeah, good point, Rod. And actually, as my coach put it, David Meltzer, years ago when I was speaking of racing. Thanks for pulling that up, Alex. Motor Trend did a good job featuring that story. I looked at it real quick. Same as it was. It was actually Roadkill magazine that it was out originally. But when I was looking to quit racing, David Meltzer said, "Hey Jim, you can always go back to it. There's always going back if you want." And it's funny because it's been since 2017, and yeah, on occasion I'll think about my identity and how it was attached to racing and how much I enjoyed that, but I haven't missed it so much that I'm going all back in to do it again. Now, would I go pop in a race here or there if somebody asked? Probably, but not enough to go after and pursue that endeavor again. And my point in saying that is sometimes it hurts when you quit and you stop doing something or you leave a business, but you realize in a period of time, hey, that was probably for the better. I haven't literally, and this is an honest statement, I have not missed owning that tequila company since the day I said goodbye and signed my contract with the investors. Not once. I enjoy the industry. I found other things to do within the industry that I enjoy more than doing that. I was going to say equally, I enjoy it more than doing that and owning my own company. And I think a lot of that comes from my ability to take what I learned there and help others do what they do, right? So oftentimes quitting can result in a much larger picture and a much more rewarding picture for you, although it hurts to quit and you might have a sense of failure from doing it. So anyways, all right. I'm going to give this opportunity if anybody, Alex, Heidi, Rod, Wayne. Well, Rod, we already heard from you. Wayne, if you guys want to pop in and add any value, I'd love to hear from you. Raise your hand or just turn your mic off. If not, or while you're thinking about that, I want to talk about community briefly and how important community is and the value of community. And you know, I realize that we've created a community here. And when we did that event down in Southern California, gosh, it's been a year ago now, I suppose, maybe a little bit longer. I had an opportunity to see a lot of the groups, a lot of people in this group, many of which are still here, not on every call, but still here. How awesome it was to see everybody live with our other guest speakers in an environment where we were all flourishing and doing things. Well, we just hosted a steak dinner or a beef dinner, chef's table dinner last Wednesday here in Montana. And I was able to see other members of this community. And I just realized how much I appreciate not only seeing everybody, but having a community of people that we get to spend time together, not only on these calls, but in business and life. And we did a lot more life last Wednesday than we did business. And realizing the tremendous amount of value in what you get from a community. And it was the same that I saw this last weekend at the men's retreat, is the act of having community with others. And so I'd also recommend, you know, in addition to finding a way that you can give and add value through giving, also continue to have community, not only whether that's here or somewhere else. There's so much in that community that you can get out of it. And by the way, you get what you give, you know, so those of you that show up here regularly and are willing to give to this community through your attendance and participation, you're going to get a lot more out of it. So, Wayne, I see you've switched over. You want to add some value here, buddy?
What's up, y'all? Can you hear me?
Hey, bud. Good to see you.
What's happening? So we're over here, not to boast or anything, but we're campfire and hanging, playing soccer. Hi. At the beach.
I love
at the
it.
beach right now. At the beach, Carlsbad. So living the dream. So yeah, no, I definitely like to weigh in a little bit on this. First off, I'd like to say, you, Rod, and Rachel, you know, everything that you guys bring to the table every week just kind of like hits home. Really, it really does. Whether it's, you know, quitting or pushing hard or, you know, trying this or going a different approach on that. You know, I just really appreciate you, Rod, and Rachel. You know, I just want to say that first. Second, I want to clear the name. Jim got me hammered that night. I pissed on Ilana's computer. So he owned FYI, he owned a tequila company and we were racing down in Mexico. So that covers me on that one. Covers the bases on that one. We did blow a motor and we did stay up all night partying. And then the next day we did stay up all night the next night, rebuilding the motor and installing it in this 57 Chevy. So that was definitely a great time. I didn't want to quit on my team. You know, I had a team. There was, you know, probably 7 or 8 of us on the team at the time, and everybody was full blown. You know, we wanted to get to that finish line. What Jim didn't mention is that new motor we bought actually blew up almost to the finish line, and we actually pushed it across the finish line because we did not quit. You know, we were there pushing it. You know, after we just spent all night putting that motor in, we pushed it across that finish line. We did not quit. We finished. Who cares what place we got? You know, we had a good time. Everything was good. So yeah. So no. Besides that, I've learned a lot from Jim throughout the years. Is you don't give up. You keep charging. And I've been telling my girls this on my soccer team. We've got our asses whooped every weekend, but I'm telling them we're not giving up, girls. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna keep charging. Soccer's kind of taken over my main drag over the past month or so. I never knew nothing about soccer before that. So, but yeah, I don't know where I'm going with it is that there is a time and a place to quit, because I did start, and it does go a little bit deeper with this with Jim personally. Is I actually a few years back ago I stopped I didn't quit. I gave up on I sold my didn't really necessarily sell it, but I kind of like took a step back from my pool business and dropped 80 accounts. That was like a quit for me. I had built this pool company up from the ground up, and I had been like full blown. That was me. Wayne's Pool Service was me. And it still is. But I gave up a lot to better my life. And the crazy part is I've give up a lot of money to better my life, and giving up the money has been one of the greatest things that has ever come to me. Grant, don't get me wrong, money is everything to me. I think about money on a minute basis, but giving up that income gave me so much more time for what I really want, which is this right here, at the beach with my family right now. It's a Monday night, like most people are coming home from work right now, stressing about whatever. But so that was a big decision in my life. Was giving that up, and to give that up as I started a new adventure which was also selling tequila, which was with Jim, and tequila, wine, beer, all sorts of stuff. But and then like as time went on, and I don't know if this is the right or wrong decision, but I've kind of backed away from it. And I told Jim, I said, hey, this isn't what my goals are. I don't want to be sitting here driving to liquor stores and gas stations and restaurants at 5 o'clock at night, 10, 6, whatever time it is, trying to sell this product. Like, I want to be home with my family. And, I really appreciate Jim, because, he wanted me to go out and do that. Like, this is a good thing for us to go out and promote our business, but it wasn't where my values were. So I kind of took a step back on that as well. And I've took a step back on a lot of things in the past, like 3 to 4 years. And they have to be probably the best decisions I've ever made. Not saying I don't want to dive back into them, and not saying I don't want to, keep challenging myself and keep trying for new things. But the reality is sometimes you gotta make the best decision for yourself. And I just really appreciate everything you guys are for, and everything you guys tell me. And I take it with a grain of sand. And my life's different than all of your guys' life, so it's different from everybody. And Jim's saying pool service is $100 a month. He's way off. We're in Cali, bro. It's $250 a month. So, $100 a month was 10 years ago. So but yeah, no, and I have started raising prices on some of my other accounts, and I do need to raise on some of my other ones. But within general, like I just really appreciate everything you guys do. And weighing in with that is thank you guys. And I got a lot to learn, and I'm glad I got you guys as a support base. So thank you for that, and we'll run with that.
Awesome, Wayne. Thank you for your comments, and we'll be here as long as you need us, man. We're not going anywhere. What I love the most about what Wayne said, and you probably won't expect this based on what we've been talking about, when he said he thinks about money on a minute-by-minute basis. And here's what I love the most about that. If you look at Wayne's social media, all you will see, or 99.9% of that, is his family and what he's doing with his family. So what that tells me is that every minute Wayne makes a decision to put his family above money. put his family above money. So if he's thinking about money every minute, he's going, wait a minute, my family's first. My family's first. I'm going to the beach. I'm going to spend time with them, right? And so he suppresses the priority of money over his family. Now I know what he means. He's a businessman. He's always shaking and baking, looking for deals. But at some point, again, where the rubber hits the road, he's picking his family over making money. And that's why I love that so much. And it's Wayne, it's because I know you enough to know your personality, that you're looking for deals. But I also know you've prioritized your family probably 9 out of 10 times every single day, right? And that's like the alcoholic that's thinking about alcohol every minute and chooses not to take the drink because he knows it's more important to be healthy and sober than drinking. So Wayne, I love that statement. I love that you're at the beach right now, and you're with us as a family. So we're all at the beach. Thank you for that. I'm a little bit envious because I love the beach, but thank you for weighing in. Your comments are always right on for the topic. And I appreciate it when you do comment, because it's meaningful, it's heartfelt, and I know what this has brought you over a period of time, and really you've been honest enough to share with us how much of a difference this has made. I appreciate the accolades. At the end of the day, you all have to do the work. The community has to do the work, which also means I have to do the work to maintain my ability, not only for my family and my own values, but also to be in a place where I can help talk about it and, and teach at a level, right? And we all struggle every day to maintain that level of commitment. So it's a constant every single day. But Wayne, thanks again. Enjoy your family. We're going to wrap this up in a minute, so you can go back to doing whatever you're doing. So anyways, Heidi, did you want to weigh in, or Alex? Or actually, I should just say, hey, Heidi, why don't you weigh in real quick?
Although this is a great topic. Thank you so much. And I welcome always hearing from people that have been there, done that, using those modalities of, Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill. So I welcome all of it. So my intuition says keep going.
Good.
Keep going. Keep going. And all the professionalism and business plans, I don't have that all specific, but I do have a lot of results. So I'm just going to keep going.
Good, as you should. And you know what? That's why we call these soft skills. Okay.
Yeah.
These are soft skills because you put this away, and it might be 2 years from now. You're like, gosh, I'm not really sure what I want to do about this business. Go back to this recording, go, hey, maybe I should quit. Let's re-listen. So
I know what I want to do with this business. I want to make $2.65 million. I want to have all these corporate wellness programs. I know what I want. It's just, let's go. Let's go.
I love that. Alex, your mic's off. I want to hear from you too before we wrap this up, buddy.
I just wanted to say that Motor Trend bought that magazine and everything, and Roadkill and all that other good stuff. So Hot Rod Magazine and all that other stuff. They now own everything. So
yeah.
And I will say it's probably going to add more time, and this is going to make me sound really, really, really horrible, and I don't mean it that way. I think a lot of this, what I found is a lot of the stuff that you're saying is 100% right. It's all 100% right. But it's a whole lot easier for people who have had enough time, and I don't know how to put this, more things go right and have been successful in a few of their endeavors than some of us who are still trying to start out and feel like they're keeping on banging their head against a wall. And I think like you and Rod all get that, but that's something I think probably should be added into a conversation like this of the giving up part. Is sometimes it's not as clear as it sounds. Like with me on my side, this is it. So I don't have, 3 other businesses in the background, and it's only me. So trying to figure out ways to go about doing what I'm doing, it's a sliding scale.
Okay. And I'll be brief, but I'll be clear. And maybe Rod might want to weigh in on this after I am. You make a really good point, Alex. And we've talked about this before, and it's probably good to have a longer discussion on this. But there's no guarantee in business and life that it'll be easy. Okay. In other words, as you suggested, knocking your head against the wall because this is all you have, right? I knock myself against the wall literally every day. Okay. I've tried to be as clear as I can be while teaching a soft skill. Business is hard, dude. Business is hard. Okay. And there's something that I can hit myself over the head with every single day and think, gosh, I don't want to do this anymore. That's when I pull from my past. And I would say this is probably one of the biggest values of my past. Not all the other things that might come to mind, but is my failures. My failures from the past allow me to go, you know what? I failed, but I pushed through, or I made a good decision, or I did push through and I didn't fail because I was willing to keep hitting myself over the head every day and got me to where I'm at in a lot of things. I hope, and I try hard at this sometimes. I hope that I don't give the impression that I've been this all successful entrepreneur. Where my success, and where my success lies is I'm hitting my values about 95%, probably 95% of the time. But I'm seriously hitting my head against the wall on a lot of things every single day. And I've got a big one that I'm hitting myself over the head right now. And I probably will continue to do it for the next month until I figure out what I want to do with it. Right. So those aren't reasons for me, and they shouldn't be reasons for you to quit. The reason why we talk about know when to quit is understanding, kind of your environment or all the components of your business, which come from, your foundational elements, your business plan, your goals, your objectives, and if those even have hope to be achieved at any point, right? So it really takes some analyzation to know, gosh, this isn't a good fit. Or if it's taking you away from your values, like my tequila company, that one overarching thing said, hey, it's time to quit. All the other stuff was working. I was making good money. We're selling a lot, but my values are not to be messed with, right? So, in other words, keep hitting yourself against the wall and push through the hard stuff, okay? And if you get to a point where like, wow, this is missing all the other important things of why I'm here, then you might consider what that might look like to change or quit. But I think you have a long ways to go. And the reason why I can say that with confidence is that you're very passionate about what you're doing and you're in the industry that you want to be in. And whether you think it or not, I've watched you make some huge strides from our first conversation to our last, and the things that you've done. Matter of fact, you're a lot further along than I thought you would be based on what you told me originally, regardless of how it feels every single day. Okay. Because I know that industry as well. So, hey, enjoy that wall, buddy, because it ain't going to get any easier, but you will start clicking off your successes. And by the way, you haven't been doing this for a year at the level that you want to do it. Okay. Most businesses take 3 to 5 years. If your head still hurts in 5 years because you're hitting it every day, maybe we should talk about what that looks like. But you got a long ways to go. And again, based on your momentum I've seen since I met you, I think you're in a good spot. Although it might hurt. Okay. That's where we build our mental toughness through different programs. I think you're in a good spot, regardless if you think that or not at this point. Rod, do you want to weigh in real quick?
Yeah, real quick. Yeah, the struggle is real. And every time I've ended up quitting something, believe me, it hurt. And rebounding hurts. Rebuilding hurts, right? I can't tell you how many times I've started over, right? Even in professional auto sales where, didn't like, what was going on one place, values didn't align, had to start over completely with a whole different franchise, having to start over with a whole different, like, here's a new race team for you to get on, right? That struggle's real. And man, the emotional toll that it takes on you, the psychological toll, man, I get beat up. I get beat up all the time. Still, like Jim said, we're in this every day. You get a beat down, but you get your licks in. And we've said it before. This is hard and it sucks sometimes, but it's worth it. It's so worth it. And then I wanted to address Heidi too. Heidi, I love that you said, no, man, I'm going forward. I'm not quitting. I'm doing this. Yes, you are. But if something gets in the way, and I'll use an example. Jim, you were doing Toastmasters maybe a year ago,
Yeah.
and just to keep your skills up and stuff, and you were doing it every week, and all of a sudden Jim's like, you know what, this is not worth the hour time and plus the drive time and all that stuff. He had to quit, so it might not be quitting on your business, it might be quitting on the other things that are interfering with your business or your life. That's the point I wanted to make there, and thanks for that, Heidi. And the next thing I want to say, especially after last Wednesday night when we got to spend time together, man, you people have some awesome partners and spouses, to allow you to do what you're doing. And I got to meet Heidi. I got to meet your husband, and Jim, I've met your wife, and I know your wife, and we have incredible support behind us. So when we're struggling, I know that you've got support at home. And if you haven't roped your significant other in, at least to be a support tool, they don't need to know the details of the business, but just to support and spew once in a while. I'm telling you, we've got a great team here. This community isn't just the people on the calls, it's the people behind them. So just wanted to say I'm acknowledging your other component out there too, everyone.
Thanks, Rod.
So that's it, Jim.
By the way, Wayne is punching way up on his spouse. His wife is awesome. So anyways, Alex, one day we're going to come up with an event, so we got to come your way, and we'll be out there to see you doing something. I'll find something race related, and we'll bring a bunch of people out. So look, guys, and Rod, thank you for clarifying. Quitting doesn't mean your business. It could mean something else, like that Toastmasters example you gave for me. I added that because I wanted to sharpen my skill, but there was a point that I needed to quit. And by the way, I didn't even realize it. You actually have to quit Toastmasters. Once you start paying, you're in. They expect you to be there every week and participate and play a role and do all these things. I literally had to quit. Unfortunately, I keep paying them because I support what they do, but they're like obligating me. Hey, how come you're not showing up? So sometimes you have to quit to give the value to the other part of your life. So anyways, Alex, thank you for the question. By the way, if you could see, I got a red bump right there from pounding my head against the wall. Been trying to get business insurance on one of my consulting gigs for a month now. A month waiting to get insurance so I can get paid a pretty good chunk of change. So yeah, I hit myself against the wall every day. I'm getting used to it. You'll get used to it. So anyways, thank you, everybody. If you need us, you know how to get a hold of us. Look forward to next week. Wayne, thanks for your comments tonight. Enjoy the beach and your family. Bye, everybody.